It's Unit 2, Week 4 this week. If you're looking up in the corner right here, let's check to make sure that's what your packet says too. We're doing possessive nouns this week. That's nouns that show ownership of something, like they have something or they own something. We did plural nouns before this. That would just be if you had more than one of something. So first page, we're going to be talking about singular possessive nouns. So we need to figure out what singular means. And if you look at this part of the word, it kind of starts to look like the word single. And if you have a single thing, you have one thing. So we're doing nouns that are single nouns, like dog, and that dog has something. And these possessive nouns end with an apostrophe S. So if the dog had a food dish, the dog's food dish, D-O-G apostrophe S. So let's try a couple. Here we have my mother, and her favorite food is lobster. So what I'm hoping that you'll notice is I have one mother. It's singular. And so in order to make it possessive, I need to say mothers with an apostrophe S at the end. Here we have the sunset in the boy's photograph was beautiful. The photograph belongs to the boy or is the boy's. The favorite food was my mother's. That's when you need those apostrophes. You don't need them if you're just talking about a bunch of mothers or a bunch of boys. But if they have something in the sentence, then you need those apostrophes in there. So we have the sunset in the boys. So one boy, we write him first, and then the apostrophe S. So singular nouns always start with the singular noun, like boy, then add your apostrophe S. Up here, we started with mother, and then added apostrophe S. We'll check ourselves down here. Yep, we got mothers and boys. So now we're going to try two more. Mr. Ross's bike was in the shop for repairs. Now there's only one Mr. Ross in the sentence, so he's a singular noun, but he has a bike, so we need that apostrophe in there. Mr. Ross's apostrophe S. Now sometimes you'll see these singular nouns that end in S with just an apostrophe. We're going to do an apostrophe S on the end of every singular noun. Here we have a neighbor. Does my neighbor have something in the sentence? See here, my neighbor has a house. So I need my neighbors. So I start with my neighbor and then apostrophe S to put it possessive. My neighbor's house was ruined in the storm. One neighbor here. So we'll check myself in the bottom. Mr. Ross's and neighbors. So try out the first page, take a singular noun, a single noun, and make it possessive with apostrophe S. And then once you're ready, you can go on to the next part of the video and the next page. This will be the information you need for page 2. We're not going to do singular anymore. We're going to do plural nouns that have to be possessive. So a plural noun could be women or children or books, and they have something in the sentence. If it's a plural noun that ends in S, like books, you only have to put an apostrophe at the end. That's it. If you have a plural noun like children, which would be a lot of them, not a lot of childs. If you had a bunch of children, do you see how children here doesn't end in an S? So if the plural noun doesn't end in S, then we put apostrophe S after it. So let's try a couple. Here's my hint. This is something to remember forever whenever you think about possessive nouns. First, decide if the noun needs to be singular or plural. Then worry about how to make it possessive. Because sometimes some nouns won't need to be possessive. They won't have anything in the sentence. So let's go down here. Some mountain peaks are very tall. This is a key word here, some. That means I'm going to have more than one mountain. So what I'm going to do, let's back up here. I'm going to start with the word mountain. And I'm going to use my hint up here. I know it needs to be plural because it says some of them. So first I'm going to make it plural. Mountains. That's a bunch of them. Now I'm going to make it possessive. If it already ends in S, look up here. It only gets an apostrophe after it. So now my mountains have peaks. The peaks belong to them. That's what that apostrophe does there. Let's try this one. I would like to join the women's soccer team. Well, the soccer team isn't just one woman. It has to be a team of them. So first I need the plural word for woman, which is women. And now that soccer team is theirs. So I need to make this plural. Now, does it end in S? No. So looking back up here, if it does not end in S, I need to put an apostrophe S at the end. So women becomes women's. We can check them over here just to be sure. Yep, we got mountains and women's. We're cruising. Let's go down. The child desks were unorganized. Now there's a bunch of desks here. So we need more than one child. I paused for a second. I thought someone was going to come in, but it looks like we're okay to keep going. So we have child here, but we have multiple desks. So chances are I really need multiple children. So instead of child, I'm going to make first children. So first I make it plural if it needs to be plural. Now I need to decide, how do I make it possessive? How do I show that the desks belong to them? Now it doesn't end in S, so I need just apostrophe S. Let's try this one. My parent car was in the shop. Well, does the car belong to one parent or two? That's the question. Now this page is about plural nouns, so we're going to say that in this case, the my in the sentence has two parents. So we're going to put parent, make it plural, parents, and since it already ends in S to show that they own the car, just an apostrophe. Now let's talk about what the difference would be if you're talking about one parent and their car, his or her car. Then we would have just the one parent like this and apostrophe S. So look at the difference here. When you have one parent, it gets apostrophe S. Multiple parents, we started with parents and then did the apostrophe. Let's check. Children's, children's. Great. Parents, parents. Also awesome. And then that's the end of your second page in your packet. When you get to the third page, now it wants to see, can you put it all together? First you learn singulars, then you learn plurals. Can you decide which one to use? This page is really important. If you make mistakes, once you go to check yourself, go back and see where you made the mistakes and definitely ask if you need help on this one. So just a reminder, if it's singular, like one dog, I add apostrophe S to show that it's possessive. If it's plural, but it doesn't end in S, like feet or children, that's a lot of them. If I need to make it possessive, apostrophe S. So look, that follows the same rule. Apostrophe S, apostrophe S. So a lot of times to make something possessive, apostrophe S. But you might have a plural noun that already ends in S, like dogs. That one we're just going to put an apostrophe at the end. So it would be DOGS apostrophe. Now, are there times that some of these words won't have apostrophes? If they're possessive, they'll have an apostrophe. But sometimes you might just have a plural word, like we learned about last week. Like you might just want to talk about a bunch of feet, and they might not have something like shoes. So be careful that when you want something to be plural, don't just stick an apostrophe in there because you think you should. They need an apostrophe if they have something in the sentence. So how do you know if it's just plural or plural possessive? And that was what I was just talking about. It's only possessive. It only gets that apostrophe if it has something in the sentence. Otherwise, it might just be a plural word, like I have a bunch of books. Books would just be B-O-O-K-S. No apostrophe needed there. All right, so here's our helpful rule to help us out. So let's read this first, and it's in red. And then we're going to fix the noun in parentheses. Sometimes we might just need plurals. We might not even need that apostrophe. First, decide if the noun should be singular or plural. Then decide what you need to do if it should be possessive. So let's look at this one. I loved watching the baker cake rise in the oven. So this word baker is what I need to do something with. So I'm going to go back to the instructions. It says first, decide if it should be singular or plural. So would I have one baker or lots of bakers? Now chances are, since it's only one cake, I think it's one baker. So I'm going to put baker. Now I need to see if it should be possessive. Does the baker have something? In this case, he or she has a cake that they're making. So it is possessive. So it needs the apostrophe S to show the possession. But check out the difference here. The two baker entered the competition together. Now I have two of them. So let's go back to these instructions in red. These red ones are really important. It will help you on this third page. Decide if the noun should be singular or plural. Well, if I have two of them, I'm thinking I probably need bakers, plural. Now it says I have to decide what to do if it needs to be possessive. Do the two bakers in this sentence here, do they have something? Like this one up here had a cake. These two bakers, they don't have entered. This is just a plural noun. So if you notice on the line here, I'm going to leave it with no apostrophe because I'm just talking about a bunch of bakers. This sentence is a little different. I still have two bakers. The two bakers' aprons started on fire. That doesn't sound very good for the bakers, does it? So now I decide first, should it be singular or plural? So I'm going to do that. And I think it should be plural because there's two. Now I have to decide, does it need to be possessive? Do the bakers have something? In this case, they do. They have aprons. So for this one, I need to go and put an apostrophe. But where should it go? Here's how you decide. Remember how you started with singular or plural? Leave that and then always just add to the end. I already have a plural word here, so then I decide if it already ends in S, just an apostrophe. So do your singular or plural first and then decide if you have to add something to the end. So let's check myself here. Bakers, oop, doing pretty good. Just plural here, yep. And plural and possessive. We're rocking it. So let's see if we can try a couple. One of the class pets was missing from his habitat. ... That's probably not good that the class pet is missing. But the pets belong to the class. So we need class first. But now we need to show that they have the pets. So the class's pets were missing. Now this is where you might just see an apostrophe because it ends in S, but since it's singular, we're going to do apostrophe S. The car bumpers were locked in the traffic jam. Now, would one bumper be locked to itself? No, it would need two. So I know I'm needing two cars here. So I'm going to say cars. So first I'm going to make it plural. Now I'm going to decide, does it need to be possessive? I'm still following these red rules. Does it need to be singular or plural? Then should it just stay the same or should it become possessive? So I'm going to go back to cars. I made it plural. Now, does it need a possession? Does it need that apostrophe or that apostrophe S? Well, we said that the cars have bumpers. So it does need some possession and it ends in S. So I just put an apostrophe. And that's that rule that's right up at the top here. If it's plural and it ends in S, you just put an apostrophe at the end. All right, it looks like we have two more to try. I found one shoe for the witch costume. Now the costume in this case belongs to the witch. So we're going to say the witch's costume, like it's hers or his. So we have witch, but there's only one witch in this case. So I'm going to leave it singular, but the witch has a costume. So we're going to do apostrophe S because all singular nouns have apostrophe S at the end. And last one. The dog bowls were all filled with hot dogs. This is a key word here, all. So how many dogs do I have? Probably more than one if they're all filled. So first I'm going to start with the plural of dog, which is dogs. And now I'm going to make it possessive because they have some bowls. The dogs' bowls were all filled with hot dogs. Now, this sentence right here, I found one shoe for the witch costume. You could have just witch. You wouldn't have to say that it's the witch's costume. But practicing our possessives, I decided to do apostrophe S. Now, if you want to get some extra practice with finding plurals and possessives, you'll want to watch this part of the video. It takes a paragraph and we're going to look for the plural and possessive mistakes. So here we have Lee's mother and father. Now, it's his mom and dad. Lee is a boy in this case. So we need an apostrophe S to show that it's his mom and dad. Some of his friends' parents also lived in separate homes. So Lee's mother and father were divorced. Some of his friends' parents also lived in separate homes. Now notice here we have friends. And it says some of them, so there's more than one. But in this case, the friends have parents. So if they have something, I should see an apostrophe somewhere in this word and I don't see it. So I'm going to go back to my rule that was in red on the other page. First, I decide singular or plural. I'm going to say plural because it's multiple friends. Now I decide how to do the apostrophe. Do I need an apostrophe or an apostrophe S? And I need just an apostrophe because it already ends in S and it's plural. Some of his friends' parents also lived in separate homes. Others did not. And this is just a bunch of others, so that can stay as it is. Lee's mother and father were divorced. Some of his friends' parents also lived in separate homes. Others did not. Sometimes Lee felt very lonely. His dad's job as a trucker took him away quite a lot. Well, do you see here how his dad has a job? Right now, the way this is written is just a bunch of dads that don't have anything. So I need first dad, which is singular. He has one dad. And now I need to make dad possessive because he has a job. So apostrophe S. His dad's job as a trucker took him away quite a lot. Many truckers' schedules are very hard. Well, in this case, I have truckers. Do they have schedules? Yeah, so the schedules belong to them. So I need some possession here. So first, I'm going to decide if I need trucker or truckers, singular or plural. And it says many. I look for keywords like that. So I'm going to say I need truckers because there's many of them. But they have schedules. So I need that apostrophe to show the possession there. Many trucker schedules are very hard. Sometimes Lee got to ride in his father's truck. Truck belongs to his dad. Stop there. So I need father. But the truck belongs to him, and I don't need a bunch of fathers, so I don't need an S yet, but I need the apostrophe S to show that the truck belongs to him. He wrote a story about the ride. He called it A Day on Dad's Rig. Same problem here. The truck is called the rig, so that rig belongs to Dad. It's Dad's rig. One part described driving by the place where Black Bart's men once watched out for travelers. They would steal the travelers' valuables. Lee entered his story in a contest with other child's writing. We have a few mistakes at the end here, and then we'll be all finished up. One part described driving by the place where Black Bart's men. The men belong to this Black Bart. So we need an apostrophe S there. They would steal the travelers' valuables. The valuables belong to these travelers. And they're not stealing from just one. They're stealing from lots of travelers. So I take the plural word, travelers, and then I decide how to end it. I need the apostrophe. So it's lots of travelers. The apostrophe shows that they have valuables, or they did till they were stolen. Lee entered his story in a contest with the other child's writing. Well, he's probably not entering a contest with just one other child. There's probably children, but they have writing, so I need some possession there. Apostrophe S. So sometimes in here we needed apostrophes. Sometimes we don't, like in others. So check out this one. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mistakes in that paragraph. As you try out your pages, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to go through just a couple on this part of the video. If you want to watch, they will help you with the last page in your packet. Circle the sentence with a plural possessive noun. So these directions, when you get on the last page, be careful. You don't actually circle a word. You pick which sentence has one. So in this case, this one has boats. That's just plural. It's not possessive. And now I have computers and bands. One of these is plural and one of them is singular. Do you see how band is singular? It's one band and then it has something. But look at computers. First it's computers, then it has an apostrophe. So, oops, I'm on my circle tool instead of my oval. So this is the one I would circle because it has a plural, computers, possessive, apostrophe, noun. Computers is a plural possessive noun. Then you'll also have to do some writing of the noun in parentheses, and you'll have to pick whether it needs an apostrophe or if it doesn't. The crowd cheering encouraged the athlete. Well, in this case, you could leave it as crowd, or we need the crowd apostrophe S because the crowd's cheering, the cheering belongs to them. 3 family are going camping. Well, if there's 3 of them, we need families. But look at this one. This one, the families don't have anything. So for our answer, we just write families. There's no apostrophe there because it's just a plural noun. The last one, the family's tent will be right along the water. Now remember up here we had 3 families. So here we need more than one family, families, but they have tents. The tents belong to them. So you need that apostrophe after the S to show that they have tents. All right, now I think I finally got to all of my slides. So now you should be able to do all the parts of your packet. As always, ask if you need help.